I will call the Mandan Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of February 24th to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Langing, Commissioner Huber,
Here.
Commissioner Mutter, Commissioner Horn,
Here.
Mayor Freilich,
Here.
Commissioner Infeld,
Here.
Commissioner McLean,
Here.
Commissioner Bookmiller, Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Hammond,
Here.
Commissioner Gardner,
Here.
Chair Robinson.
Here. And we have a copy of the minutes from our January 27th meeting. Any changes?
I can move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Hammond to approve the minutes of January 27th. Questions? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. Motion is passed, and we'll move on to the first of our public hearings to consider the HRWTC edition final plat and zone change. Andrew?
Good evening, Chair Robinson and Commissioners. I have my location map on the screen here. This is a request from the State Department of Corrections to do the final plat and a zoning change for the HRWTC edition, as you mentioned. This property is in the west part of Mandan. It has been annexed into city limits and would be served by the city in its development. The current property has a mix of agricultural and heavy industrial zoning on it. Parcels may not have more than one zoning designation, therefore, to have it developed and consolidated, it required a rezone. HRWTC edition is 86.91 acres. There are no changes from the preliminary plat. This would serve as the site for the State Women's Transformational Center, which is a Department of Corrections facility. The land use plan does call this property for public use, and the agricultural zone would be appropriate for that. The proposed zoning would align with the adjacent uses and zoning designations. We did receive the application on the 29th of January and noticed it as necessary. A couple comments from staff. We do need final kind of coordination regarding the utility servicing plan for this property, given it is within the city. And that just annotation of the annexation occurring in 2024 via commission approval. I've included some standard findings related to the plat and the zone change. Our recommendation is approval of both contingent on the utility servicing. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Andrew?
I guess just one question, Mr. Chairman. Andrew, I just wanted to understand if the new structure will be built on this parcel that's subject to this plat? And then, that leads me to question the agricultural zoning versus some institutional use zoning, if you could speak to that.
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Huber, I did fail to mention as well, we do have representatives from the State Department of Corrections as well as the project team that are able to answer more specific questions surrounding this project. But yeah, the Women's Transformational Center would be built on Lot 1. So its entire footprint would be situated on this property. If I may direct you to the screen again, and I can zoom in on here. This hash mark covers at least 2/3 of the current facility today, and the site that they are proposing is further west of that. I'll just change gears here to Google and show you again with a better aerial. While this is loading, The city does not have a public or institutional use zoning district. So in any fashion, it would be, is this a commercial use? Is this an industrial use? Is this agricultural? This creates the least amount of entitlements for the property to be used for other purposes than the specific project. So that significant portion of Lot 1 includes the buildings that I'm cursoring over here now, and I believe the project would be constructed in an area being cleared here. If there are any folks from the project team that want to clarify for me, feel free to speak now.
Robinson, members of the committee, my name is Chris Jangula. I'm the Chief Physical Plant Officer for the Department of Corrections. And the information that Andrew had just shared, that is correct as far as the location of the facility. If, Andrew, could you go back to the map that you were showing? The Google, or the overhead one with the trees and stuff.
This one?
You can see the right through the middle of those trees, you see a light green area. There's overhead power line there, and the facility is going to be to the south of that boundary. It has to be by code. So all of the trees north of that power line area will remain in place. I'm not sure what the easement is, but I know we plan on clearing all of the trees up to that overhead power line. And I guess I can stand for any questions that anyone else may have regarding the facility.
The city does have in their recommendation getting approval of the utility service plan. Is there a date set or a process that you've agreed to work through that?
Mayor Freilich, members of the committee, I don't have that information right now. We are currently working with Highlands Engineering, and I will have to have them get that date and reach out to you.
Yeah, this is Casey Homiston with Highlands Engineering. I'm just filling in for Andrew Schrank in my office. He has managed the project since the beginning, and I know has coordinated with staff. There was a question on our part on that as far as the coordination of those utilities, and we had a similar question of the timeline. If it's something that can be done subsequently with easements after the plat is approved and recorded, or it sounds like the city would prefer to have those utility easements coordinated, worked out, and placed on the plat. Is that correct?
Chair Robinson, commissioners and project representatives. Yeah, as I understand it, additional coordination is necessary between the city and the project team relevant to the proposed use of the sanitary sewer in this area. We have been told that a meeting has been in the works and have been asking a person to provide us with updates on that, and it hasn't gone anywhere. So we're going to be shifting our strategy to perhaps just set up a meeting on our own, independent of other assistance. Commissioners, if I may as well, on the screen I did pull up a previous item that this board was presented with. This was the preliminary plat from December of 2024, in that it contained a overlaid site plan.
Primary access is staying the same as it is today, Andrew?
Commissioners, yes, the site will be accessed and kind of marketing the access to come from Highway 6. As some narrations, and feel free to interject the project team folks. However, As the project has been explained to me, yes, the main road would, and I can show you on the screen here too, it would come from the far southeast, work its way west, and then straddle the west side of the existing campus to get up to main parking lot northwest of the main campus. This would be the main entrance to the facility, and then off of that include arms or wings for programming and the residences as well. And then there are some different alternates for outdoor areas that have been proposed as well that I can't speak to.
Any further questions for Andrew or the project team? With none, I will open it up for any public comments or questions. We don't have anybody in the room, so if anybody's calling in, now would be the time. Taking questions or comments on item number 1. Again, public comments on item number 1. With none, I'll close, return it back to the commission.
I would move to recommend approval of the final plat for the HRWTC addition with the condition of approval of a utility servicing plan by the city of Mandan and approval of a zone change to agriculture.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Huber, second by Commissioner Smith. Motion is to recommend approval of a final plat for HRT-WC addition with the following condition of the approval of a utility servicing plan by the city, and also recommend approving zone change to agricultural. Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Infeld,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And motion is passed. That is our only public hearing today, and we will move on to other business. Andrew?
Chair Robinson, Commissioners, it's been a while since I provided an update on the zoning ordinance project that the city has been working on. Included in your packet is kind of an update and a summary of what's kind of came out of the woodwork as the most major changes that we've heard from folks. Some are changes to existing processes and others are new zoning districts, for example. So if I could just turn your attention to the handout that comes after the agenda document with the blue and the green on it. That sort of is a guide that has been handed to the development community to be that visual narration of the proposed changes. The new ordinance gets close to 400 pages long, so we understand it is a challenge to get through. And this resource is intended to outline what we think are some of the biggest changes that are coming out of the project. So not going to go through them one by one, but wanted to call to your attention that that resource does exist. We did hear over the course of the project that we should create additional opportunities for development and stakeholder feedback and listening sessions. So heard that, got to work, and we had a somewhat well-attended input meeting back in February, invited well over 50 folks and had a handful show up to talk through some of the changes. These are the developers, home builders, bankers, all the folks in the community who were invited to participate. We're going to try for 2 more sort of Q&A sessions. However, that will bring us to the end of the project, which we would assume in affording multiple opportunities for engagement that people would take advantage of if they were interested, I guess. So the Q&As to come up are going to be on February 26th, that's Wednesday, and March 5th. Again, invites have been sent out to the folks that were interested in this. We also were in the Building Buzz magazine, direct emails through the Home Builders Association, the development community, etc. So trying our best to get the word out about this project. The best resource to go to is cityofmandan.com/zoning study. I can show you on the screen here. You have a summary of all the project progress. Again, we've been working on this for over 2 years now. So here's what we did the whole time. And kind of your quick reference, new drafts of the zoning ordinance for an individual to read through. This one's 182 pages. So that's why we made the handouts that make it a little easier. This is shorter than our current ordinances. Have that in mind because of the lengthy terminology that we took and rewrote. So it's supposed to be a little bit easier to get through. This is accompanied by a subdivision ordinance that relates to the plats that you review, as well as a right-of-way ordinance that relates to the public space in between lots. I X'd out of the tab on accident. Sorry. You can also access the summary of major changes document that you have in your hands here, as well as audit reports, working group presentations, the community survey, and other resources there. It's our intent to bring this to this group in April for recommendation to approve to the City Commission. Do you have any questions for me about the project?
Questions for Andrew?
Commissioner Robertson, Andrew, in the street trees, are there any provisions, or did you write this in as far as setbacks from intersection for the planting of trees?
Mayor Freilich, at the start of this project, the city's site triangle only legally applied to signs. It'll now apply to everything in the boulevard and the site triangle.
Okay, so what's the setback on an intersection for trees?
It's about 45 feet. It's the kind of nationwide acceptable standard for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Andrew? What do you feel, Andrew, for time frame?
We have been marketing that final comments are due related to this project on March 14th. We've kind of created a lot of opportunities for us to still hear from folks. However, we do not have any budget to extend beyond that. So that will be the final time that I can accept formal comments on the project. After that, I feel good about getting it through the adoption hearings.
Andrew, just a question on the feedback. Mainly from the developers, was there any questions or concerns from their point of view and the builders?
Chair, Commissioner Infelt, the topic that I think is going to take some fine tuning is going to be related to driveway widths primarily. That's their biggest concern. Local kind of pushback to the concept, yeah.
Andrew, just process-wise, is there, what's the next steps? Does the planning and zoning approve it and the city commission approves it? Is that?
Chair, Commissioner Gardner, the plan would be the plan for this would be to be processed similar to a zoning ordinance text amendment where we have a couple public hearings and then it would be recorded. So yeah, this board would be asked to recommend approval of it as an ordinance to the City Commission. There are so there's two parts to the project to explain. Step one would be to change the rules of our current zoning district. So that doesn't take, that really doesn't take much work for a property. However, we have a lot of properties that are zoned to districts improperly that need to be corrected, and that's going to be required to be fixed in order for this ordinance really to work properly. An example would be some of the regulations that are proposed for the downtown fringe really only make sense for the proposed downtown fringe and wouldn't make sense for our existing downtown fringe. On the screen, I have a map that shows how the city zoned this entire portion of it kind of commercial in a way. And some of the regulations that are proposed for the downtown fringe are perhaps only most appropriate for properties that are in an immediate 1 block buffer of our downtown, where we have commercial buildings and walkability and things like that. So having some of the proposals be extended all the way out to the high school site or halfway up the Collins Avenue Hill or over to the old Chevy dealer, they're not going to work very well if we don't change the zoning of these districts. So what's been proposed is to eliminate the downtown fringe as one of the biggest districts in town and replace it with just a standard commercial district at the far east end, residential multifamily in the residential areas of the downtown fringe, and then peel it back so that the downtown fringe is really just a couple blocks around the downtown core, where we are transitioning from other land uses into our downtown. So those are going to need to be processed as a zone change, where we publish every address in the paper, send a letter to every resident, and explain to them that their zoning is changing. We're not alone in this effort. The cities of Fargo and Bismarck will be doing the same thing this or next year, and the city of Minot did this over the past few years as we've all kind of grappled with outdated zoning. So that's kind of what's to come. We'll do the text amendment for the ordinance and the laws that are created by the paper document, and then we'll have to do zone changes for the physical zoning map amendments that are required.
Thank you. And then one follow-up question. So if there's something that it seems like sometimes you don't really find things until it's in practice. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, all of these things that are written up, I'm guessing if we don't think something's going to work, we can obviously amend it and change it pretty easily.
Yeah, Chair Robinson, Commissioner Gardner, that's exactly correct. Cities will, I mean, everything's going to look good when you partially author it, right? So the point of the public engagement effort was to try and get additional sets of eyes on this, to look for things that look great to me and the consultant and other folks that have contributed to its development. However, if we find out that something that we adopt is just not fully right-sized for Mandan, within a matter of 2 months, we can get the issue resolved and get something better put in place. That's about the quickest we would be able to do it.
So we couldn't just change like the code? It would take a couple months to change the code?
Yeah, so the process of doing a zoning ordinance amendment includes it being introduced to this board at a public hearing and then having public hearings at the city commission. So the 2-month period would cover that. But it's not as simple as just deleting a sentence and typing it out again. This project would not be possible to do as a zoning ordinance text amendment, just one by one. It would be impossible. The only way that you can really grapple with this issue is to take it from top to bottom and make sure that at one point in time all the references work. Or else we would end up with a code like we have today, where it sends you in a certain direction that there's nothing there for. Or it calls this a duplex and that a twin home and that a two-family and whatever. So it's never going to be perfect. I think most cities find themselves making amendments shortly after they adopt new codes. But this is kind of an opportunity to get it in one tone, one format for the future of the community to run with.
Any other questions? Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
That is our final business tonight. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.